Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is Jeff Yang, and today we're going to be going over this airplane, which is the Eflite Timber, and it is one of my very favorite airplanes that I fly. Now, it's important to note here that this is the Timber and not the Turbo Timber. The Turbo Timber is the newer version of this airplane. It runs off a 4S and has a few other different quirks. But today, we're going to go over this airplane, and really, they actually fly very, very similar. I should mention that I've been flying this airplane for about 2 months now. I probably have well over 35 flights on this airplane. As far as STOL airplanes go, which stands for Short Takeoffs and Landings, this airplane flies better than any other airplane that I've ever flown, which includes the Multiplex Fun Cub, which comes in a quick second place to this airplane as far as just STOL goes. Now, the reason why is this airplane is dedicated to STOL and nothing else. It can kind of do some acrobatics, but the Fun Cub definitely covers the acrobatic section of this type of airplane better than this does. This one tends to slow down a little bit better than what my Fun Cub would. So let's just go over the standout features of this airplane, which I really, really love, and then we'll go over some of the features that I don't care so much for. So for some of you guys that have been following me with this airplane on social media, and also just some of the videos that I've been posting about this airplane, will know that nothing really went smooth out of the box for this airplane. To start off with, out of the box it had a dead ESC. A little bit later down the road, I noticed that my airplane wings, that one of them was actually kind of pitched up a little higher than the other one, which made me have to have a lot of right aileron deflection to help to correct that. Both of those issues were handled by Horizon Hobby within a few days, which was pretty amazing. So I just called them up, said, hey, this is the problem. They said, no problem, we're sending you out a new one. So this is actually a newer set of wings that I have, and you'll notice that because there's no decals on them. They did send a set of decals with it, but I'm thinking about painting this airplane, so I haven't put those on yet. Even though E-flite airplanes tend to be a little bit more expensive, a lot of times that will be made up for with types of customer service that I've experienced with E-flite. One of my favorite features of this airplane are the front edge slats. So what I think that these do is help you fly slower than even a normal Cub style airplane will fly. So what it is like this little mini wing here. You can see it's kind of stood off from the front leading edge of the wing. It just tends to give the wing a little bit more stability at low speeds, and also allow you to fly slower. I don't know how it does it. I'm sure there's some guys out there that will comment down below and tell you how this happens. The second thing that I love about this airplane is the STOL landing gear. Now, I've done some modifications to this, which I'll explain in just a moment. I love the way that the landing gear articulates here. It just has a little bit of a pivot right here and some springs here. So one of the modifications that a lot of guys make, and which I've done, is to take out the spring limiters. You'll notice the stock springs have a little curly wire that kind of comes out of the landing gear here. Now, what that does is it limits how far that the landing gear will articulate. What'll happen sometimes if you don't take this out, it limits how far the landing gear actually splays out. I'd rather it splay out a little bit wider and not put a lot of stress onto the landing gear system. Once the spring gets to the end of the spring limiter, it ends up putting all that force that let's say you've had a hard landing, puts it all onto the rest of the landing gear, and that actually has ruined a few landing gears that I've seen. So my landing gear actually spreads out quite a bit wider than it would stock, and so this is the spring limiters. Most of the guys that have done this modification love it, and I've never had any problems with it. The other reason that I bought this airplane is because I wanted to help my kids learn how to fly. Now this does have safe select on it, which means if you flip a switch, it goes into self-leveling mode. My son's done really great with this airplane, learning and just having that safe select is a really nice insurance policy for when he's trying his loops and his rolls, which are very, very slow. So a lot of times when we have a lot of high winds at the field, all the other airplanes get put away except for the Timber or the Fun Cubs, because they handle wind so well, and they love to just slow down and to a crawl and fly into the wind. It's so fun to. It's like one of those races where you're trying to go the slowest possible, and whoever creeps out in front of is the loser. So we do that all the time with this airplane. We spot land these things into the grass, on the pavement. We try and get it to land in one specific spot. So it's a really, really fun airplane. One of the last things that I'd like to get to about this airplane is that it goes together very, very quickly. Build process is maybe 20 minutes, and then you just have to bind the model to your radio. Alright guys, enough with the positives, let's go ahead and talk about some of the negatives. So first off, pretty much the universal complaint about this airplane is they hate putting the battery into this bottom battery hatch here. Now if you have a airplane stand that you can have at the field, which is what I do, it tends to be kind of a non-issue. It's just a pain in the butt to kind of flip it over, put the battery in, and flip it back over again. You tend to have to handle the model quite a bit. This is my 3S 2200 here. I usually have about 2 to 3 fingers of width to bring the battery back into the proper CG. 2 to 3 fingers is just fine. If I feel like I want to be a little bit more sporty, I like to put 3 fingers here and then hold the battery in place. It's a little bit hard to get it into place, but you're always rewarded with a great flight. Another complaint that I've had with this airplane is the very, very weak gears in the plastic gear servos that come with this airplane. I did have a mid-air with another Timber, because we have 4 of them at the field, and another fifth, fourth and fifth Fun Cub. But we like to fly in formation. Every once in a while we make contact. It's not a big deal. The plastic gear servos in here, I actually stripped 2 servos on that collision. One was a flap servo and the other one was a rudder servo. So my buddy just kind of flew into me, hit the rudder and stripped all the gears out, and also hit the flap. So you'll see that I have a little bit of damage right here on this aileron, which is from the prop, and this is the servo here that actually got stripped out. If you really want to get fancy with this thing, you can go ahead and do full metal gear servos, and you probably won't have that problem. Now, I'm sure the designers were not expecting to have mid-air collisions, but the fact that we collided and were able to fly back down to the ground means that the impact really wasn't that great. My son sometimes will grab the airplane and rub the ailerons and flaps into his stomach, and so I was always worried about if he accidentally pulled a little bit too hard on it, if he would actually strip those servos. So servos are definitely a weak point. I do love airplanes that are scale, and I do love the scale lighting on this airplane. It's got the nice headlights up here in the front, and of course our navigation lights here on the ends of the wingtips, and the flashing strobe on the top and bottom here. If you'll see, there's one on top, and here is the one on bottom. I love not having to actually go in and wire a airplane after the fact with LEDs, because it's just a pain. Coming to the end here, but I should mention that the airplane does come with floats. I'm not around water, and I really have no desire to fly with floats. So if there's anybody out there that would like to buy these from me, feel free. I'll give you a very good deal and ship them to you for free. So I should mention that me and a lot of other guys at the field that have this airplane notice that the airplane likes to go to the right, so we have to put in a lot of left aileron to actually correct that. And I could be really nitpicky about this airplane and say, well, the ailerons should be level, or you should have made more downward and to the right compensation with the propeller to combat that. But honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. The airplane flies so good that I just don't even really care about that. It has such great stall characteristics. It does pretty much everything that you want. It flies so slow that you could probably walk next to it and grab the wing. So that's another thing I thought I should probably mention. Now, a lot of guys will ask if you can run this on 4S and 3S, and that it is true that you can do that. And I've done it a lot of times with this airplane. Now, if you're running it on 4S, you want to make sure that the prop is definitely balanced, because if it's not balanced, it has so much power it can sometimes vibrate and rip the molding of the foam in the front and rip the nose cone off. So make sure that you don't do that. But like I said, I've flown this probably 20 times on 4S and I never had any problems with it, and I have balanced my prop. Alright guys, so that concludes my review of the Eflite Timber. I think that everyone should own one. Of course, now you can get the Turbo Timber, which takes 4S and has a 3-bladed prop and all that stuff. But tell me what you guys think. How do you like your timbers? Is there any modifications that you guys have done to it to make it fly better? And what things have you guys tried? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Bye.